Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 6 of Monday Mids. What we do in this series is currently explained on screen, so please pause the video and give it a quick read if you're new here. Now, getting right into today's video, today we pulled S. And while looking through my selection of anime that start with the letter S, there were 283 entries, which brought a direct request from one of my friends. If I refuse to share my anime list, please at least occasionally drop some of the series that might not be so well known, but are higher rated than a 5 or 6. So, keeping with today's letter S, here are 3 anime that are definitely higher than mids, but maybe might not be so well known as, say, Shingeki no Kyojin, aka Attack on Titan. Starting out, first we have an oldie but goodie that may not be so well known by some of the younger generation. It's set in alternate Edo period of Japan, and it's called Samurai Champloo. It follows 3 crazy people on their quest to find someone that smells like sunflowers. Mugen is a samurai who fights with a style reminiscent of breakdancing, and Jin is a more traditional samurai who uses a traditional style. They are tasked with being Fu's bodyguards as she searches for the person that smells like sunflowers. Unfortunately, they want to kill each other, so it's actually just a bunch of jokes, good sword fighting, and it's all set to a unique hip-hop infused soundtrack. It's a banger. It's easily an 8.5 verging onto 9 territory. Enjoy. Next up, we have Seishun Buta Yaro wa Bunny Girl Senpai no Yumen wa Minai, aka Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. This is a slice of life supernatural romance, and it's about an inexplicable syndrome called puberty syndrome, which is widely regarded as a myth. It's a rare disease which only affects teenagers, and its symptoms are so supernatural that hardly anyone recognizes it as a legitimate occurrence. However, the high school student Sakuta knows from personal experience that it is very much real and happens to be quite prevalent in his school. Mai is a third-year high school student who gained fame in her youth as a child actress, but recently halted her promising career for reasons unknown to the public. With an air of unapproachability, she's well known throughout the school, but none dare interact with her. That is until Sakuta sees her wandering the library in a bunny girl costume. Despite the getup, no one seems to notice her, and after confronting her, he realizes that she is another victim of puberty syndrome. As Sakuta tries to help Mai through her predicament, his actions bring him into contact with more girls affected with the elusive disease. It's actually pretty good, despite how ridiculous the premise sounds. Easily another solid 8. Finally, if you feel like emotionally ruining yourself for quite possibly the rest of your life, try Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso, or Your Lie in April. Basically, Arima is a child prodigy known as the human metronome because he plays the piano with precision and perfection. His mom is strict as hell and puts him through rigorous training, but as a result he dominates every competition he enters, earning the admiration of his musical peers and praise from the audience. When his mother suddenly passes away, the subsequent trauma makes him unable to hear the sound of the piano, and he never takes the stage thereafter. Nowadays, he lives a quiet and unassuming life as a junior high school student alongside his friends, while struggling to get over his mother's death. However, he continues to cling to music. His monochrome life turns upside down the day he encounters the eccentric violinist Kaori. who thrusts him back into the spotlight as her accompanist. Through a little lie, these two young musicians grow closer together as Kaori tries to fill Kosei's world with color once again. I cannot stress this enough. This series will ruin you. If that is something you enjoy, being emotionally tortured by a show, it's right up your alley. If not, you might want to run for the hills. You've been warned. Now, let's get into the mids that we all came here for today. Today I bring to you Shin no Nakama Janai to Yuusha no Party, aka, trust me, the title was a lot longer. I cut it off where most of us cut it off. But the English translation is Banished from the Hero's Party. I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside. The premise is Red, whose real name is Gideon, was once a member of the Hero's Party that was destined to defeat the Demon Lord. While he wasn't the strongest fighter, he served as the party's guide, strategist, and support member. However, one of the party's leaders, Ares, decides Red is holding the group back and pressures him to leave. Rather than fight the decision, Red quietly departs and settles in the remote frontier town of Zoltan, where he opens an apothecary and tries to live the peaceful life he's always wanted. Unfortunately, his past and the Hero's Party are not finished with him. At first glance, this looks like a fantasy adventure, a banished hero story, and a slice of life romance, but the heart of the series lies elsewhere. This is one of those series like Freyren, which basically shows you what life is like after the adventure, so the premise is not exactly new. The catch is the adventure is still going on for the actual Hero's Party. Red is just not a part of it anymore. So most fantasy stories focus on saving the world, defeating evil, and becoming stronger. This series basically asks the questions, what if someone simply wants a happy life instead? Much of this show revolves around Red running a shop, helping townspeople, building a home, and developing relationships. The slow life is not a side plot. It's not that dream where the person says, oh, I'm going to live a slow life and then inevitably get dragged into the action and the craziness. The slow life is the main attraction. Another big part of this series is the concept of freedom versus destiny. It's one of the central concepts that there is a world's blessing system. People are born with divine blessings that influence their talents, their personalities, and their roles in society. The hero's blessing is especially extreme. The series repeatedly asks, if destiny dictates who you are, do you really have free will? This becomes the core of Ruti's story. Ruti is the hero and the leader of the party that Red once belonged to. Another big core tenet of this series is choosing happiness. Many of the characters are trapped by expectations. For example, the hero must save the world, adventurers must keep fighting, and nobles must fulfill obligations. Red's decision is in a sense radical because he chooses love, peace, and very ordinary happiness over heroic duty. He was in a position where even though Ares was forcing, quote unquote, forcing him to leave the hero's party, he didn't actually have to leave. He chose happiness and to let the adventure continue without him. Now, what some people liked about it was, right off the bat, the romance. The relationship between Red and Rit is the show's biggest strength. Many viewers appreciated that they communicate, they trust each other, and their relationship actually progresses. This is not one of those slice of life romance where you get edged for 4, 5, 6 seasons and nothing happens and you're just waiting and waiting. No. They get cracking and they don't play around. They actually develop and progress this relationship, which many people appreciated. It feels refreshingly adult, but not in the freaky kind of way. Another thing that people liked was the cozy atmosphere. This series excels at small town life, relaxed pacing, domestic moments, and character interactions. Many fans enjoyed it as a fantasy comfort show. Finally, there was some semblance of interesting world building. The blessing system creates moral questions that are more interesting than a typical RPG style fantasy setting. Now, on the other side of the coin, why some people disliked it was first and foremost the uneven balance. The show sometimes shifts between cozy romance, slice of life, action adventure, and heroic destiny drama. Not everyone enjoyed these transitions, but it keeps things fresh in a sense that it's not just bogging you down with the same thing over and over. Sometimes also the slow life isn't always quote unquote slow. Some viewers expected pure countryside living. Instead, the story regularly returns to the hero's party, especially in the later point when they're trying to progress the plot, demons, and larger world threats. In some cases, the action is secondary. People looking for epic battles, constant progression, and high-intensity fantasy may find the pace too relaxed. It is one of those stories where they actually give you the slow life you came for, and while there are elements of fights and plots and other things going on, the author doesn't forget that this is a slow life. So if you're looking for one of those faux slow lives that just put you back into the action after promising you a slow life but breaking that promise, this is not exactly that kind of series. Now, the key themes here, to summarize them, are family. The relationship between Red and Ruti drives much of the emotional story. Red is the main character, and Ruti, his younger sister, is the hero. Another main theme was identity, and the question, can people define themselves beyond the role society gives them? Another one was love, and that's clearly between Red and Rit. Their relationship is about building a life together, not simply falling in love. Finally, they focus on free will and the conflict between personal choice and divine destiny. It is one of the central themes as it relates to Ruti, who feels burdened by her blessing that she must be the hero and she must defeat the demon lord, even if it means sacrificing herself and her happiness. To summarize with a final takeaway, this series is a fantasy story about a former hero's companion who abandons the quest to save the world and instead builds a peaceful life, a successful business, and a loving relationship in the countryside. Unlike many Banished from the Party anime, the appeal is not watching Red get revenge. It's watching him discover that a quiet, meaningful life may be more valuable than being a hero. Now, with all of that being said, let's get into the ratings. I've pretty much broken down the series for you in terms of plot, and I'm going to keep it a buck with you. It's a 6 out of 10. It does enough to keep you interested, quote unquote, but I'm going to be honest, the plot is not where this shines. It basically just lays the groundwork for this anime to shine in the other areas, aka the characters. Now, in regards to the animations, it's a 7 out of 10. It's above average, but there's not an extraordinary amount of combat, so they don't really show off fluid movement and amazing fight scenes more than so. So they don't really put effort into those areas, but the drawings are good, the colors are good, and it's good for what we are hoping to see here. So 7 out of 10. Now, right off the bat, I'm just going to tell you the character rating is an 8 out of 10. I thought it had a good variety of characters, with the main characters being extremely likable. I enjoyed the relationship between Red and Rit, and it was refreshing to see Ruti's problems and development along the way. They don't just leave these characters static and stagnant and just like refresh the world state every episode. There's actually progression and development, and you see them, even side characters, get developed along the way and progress throughout the story. So I think overall they did a pretty solid job with this cast, and a lot of the characters are varied enough to be unique and memorable, and they do a good job of developing them as is necessary. Now, this is one of those math problems where, once again, I'm sorry to tell you that the math does not make sense on this one. When you average a 6, 7, and 8, you're thinking this should be a 7. And I'm sure to some people will end up being a 7. I ended up giving it a 6 solely because, once again, I don't give decimal ratings for final scores. If I were to reveal that hidden number in my head, this is probably like a 6.9. I don't round up, so it ends up falling to a 6, therefore becoming mid. But this might be another one of those dark horse candidates in the series where you enjoyed it a lot more than you thought you were going to. So if that's the case, I'm happy for you. I think more realistically, a lot of people are going to say that this is a 6 like I've rated it. Do with that information what you will. Catch you on the next one. Thanks as always.